Should your tax dollars be used to fund a religious charter school? That's the question we're going to be looking at today. My name is Holden, and welcome to Classroom Camp. In the news, there is a fascinating story I have been dying to talk about, and the headline reads, "Divided Supreme Court Weighs Effort to Create Nation's First Religious Charter School." This is published on cbsnews.com, April 30th, 2025. Now, this is a long story that dates all the way back to 2023, so I'm going to recap that, just give you a quick summary of what's been going on and what has happened recently and what we can potentially expect in the future. And before we get into this, quick favor, if you like this video, do not forget to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. You don't have to, but I would love to have you here as part of the Classroom Camp community. So let's take a look at this story. And there are a couple of things I want to look at. First of all, charter schools. Where do charter schools get their funding? Well, according to Google AI, it says charter schools, like traditional public schools, are funded by a mix of federal, state, and local sources, with varying amounts depending on the state and district. They receive funding based on student enrollment, similar to how district schools are funded in Louisiana, which is where I live. For example, state funding is based on enrollment, and charter schools may also receive funding from local sources like property taxes and sales taxes. So it's clear here that charter schools, they do get funded by your tax dollars. And for the most part, actually, I think all the part, charter schools are non-religious. They are just, kind of their own thing. I will tell you, however, that the charter school that I attend, not going to name any names, does have public prayer sometimes, despite the fact that the law says that you cannot have school-sponsored prayer. But, there's a whole situation going down, and I think the administration has just said, forget it. We're doing our own thing. And so there has been quite a lot of prayer recently. But charter schools are not supposed to be religious, and there's really usually no issue. However, there is this new school. You can see St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School, a completely online charter school that is Catholic and religious. And back in 2023, they applied to become a charter school. This article on cbsnews.com details the entire saga. I'm not going to go over everything. I just want to give you the highlights. It says, in January 2023, the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City and the Diocese of Tulsa formed the St. Isidore of Seville Virtual Charter School, Inc. for the purpose of establishing and operating St. Isidore as a Catholic school, according to court records. That May, St. Isidore applied to the Oklahoma Statewide Charter School Board to establish it as a virtual charter school that fully embraces the teachings of the Catholic Church's magisterium and fully incorporates these teachings into every aspect of the school. It then goes on to say that the charter school board voted 3-2 to approve St. Isidore's application, and in October 2023, it and the school entered in a contract establishing St. Isidore's as a charter school. That month, however, Drummond, who is Oklahoma's Republican Attorney General, sued the board directly in the Oklahoma Supreme Court and asked it to rescind the charter contract and declare St. Isidore's establishment as a charter school unlawful. So this has been taken to the courts. Drummond does not agree. Okay, rightfully so, because this is a questionable move, and a lot of people would say that. A lot of people would disagree with that. Your taxpayer money going to fund a religious institution, that's unprecedented. And so, yeah, he is suing, and this has become a major issue. The reason is because it looks like the Supreme Court could decide in this school's favor. Let's take a look at what's going on in the main section of this article. It says, coming from Washington, the Supreme Court on Wednesday appeared divided over efforts in Oklahoma to create an online Catholic charter school, a case that could open the door to public dollars flowing directly to religious schools. A ruling in favor of the school, St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School, could lead to the country's first religious charter school and upend laws in at least 45 states and the District of Columbia, as well as the federal charter school program, all of which require charter schools to be non-sectarian. Oklahoma's Republican Attorney General Gentner Drummond has warned. 8 of the 9 justices are considering the case, as Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself. Following statements, it seemed likely that the outcome hinges on the Chief Justice John Roberts, who focused on the level of state involvement in its charter school program during the arguments. If the Supreme Court deadlocks 4-4, it would leave intact the decision of the Oklahoma Supreme Court, which rules that the contract establishing St. Isidore's as a Catholic charter school was a violation of state and federal law. Justices Samuel Alito and Brett Kavanaugh appeared most sympathetic to St. Isidore's argument that excluding it from Oklahoma charter school system unconstitutionally discriminated against the school. Kavanaugh said religious institutions can't be treated as second class and said keeping sectarian schools from operating charter schools when the program is open to non-religious private entities seems like rank discrimination based on religion. Very interesting. Very interesting. So going on in this article, it does say that they're not expecting favorable treatment. They're not looking for favoritism. They just want to be treated equally. And they're saying that, hey, we're a charter school. We just want the same, funding that other charter schools get. Yeah, we happen to be religious in nature, but we're not looking for any kind of exception or anything like that. We were voted and approved as a charter school, and that's all that we want. So, very interesting situation. And let's read on here. It says, the unifying thread is that once the government decides to open up a program and to distribute benefits or to contract with people, it can single out religious people or institutions for special disadvantage, said Richard Garnett, a professor at Notre Dame Law School who directs its program on church, state, and society. So this is ongoing, and the article says that we are expected to see the outcome of this, a final decision, sometime in June or July. This is monumental if this goes through. And there are a lot of moving parts here and a lot of reasons behind this. And from the research that I have done, what it looks like too is that this does in a way coincide with the school choice movement, because the thing is if we have vouchers for students and let's say students choose to go to a private institution, and that private institution happens to be religious in nature, well, what's the difference? What's the difference if there's a charter school that is religious and the student chooses to go there? So this really does open up the door for a lot of different scenarios, and it's kind of strange to think about, kind of strange. And personally, I'm not on the side of this, despite the fact that I am a Christian. And I have Christian values and whatnot. I think that it is strange, and I feel bad for people who are non-Christian to have their tax dollars be forced to go to supporting a religious institution. It is. I think that it's a little unfair, and it shouldn't be the case here, but it looks like it is a possibility. So, yeah, I mean, there is so much that can be said about this. I'm not going to get all into it. What I am most interested in is hearing from you and your thoughts on this. So, first of all, should a religious charter school be allowed to be funded with tax dollars? That's the big question here. Is this going to pass, do you think? And if so, what are the implications? Let me know down in the comment section. And don't forget, if you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. I would love to have you here in the Classroom Camp community. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.